criteria, we're going to try something out. So the idea is, as long as you can demonstrate that you, A, have tried to mitigate risk, B, that you're involving the person in the conversation with other people, you have a better chance for change. Having said that, 60% of the time. There's 40% of the time where you just have, and you find it with people like, we find it all the time. So we have guys like my age who have elderly parents. And you sit in their living room, and you have the mom who's saying, she's 85 years old, saying, I'm going to be gone soon, and I promised my husband I would take care of him, and I can't let that happen. And I know, they'll be like, Tim, I know you're trying, but I owe it to. And there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. But I think as long as we are making sure that we are attending to risk in a reasonable way, one of the things, having been sued, having had people come after me, having had we had a guy that we worked with that killed the sheriff. Having my picture in the front page of a paper saying it's because of me, I know how awful that is. But the reality is this, is that when it all, so you get the ugly part, but when it all came down, we were like, we did everything, and despite our best efforts, it happened. And I think that I always try to turn it on, but what kind of life is it when you have to be guarded by somebody every day? And that's, in the United States, we are proud. I mean, we're so proud of that, we all carry guns. So, it's a constant conversation that we have, but it is about mitigating risk. It really is. And how are you having that conversation in a meaningful way with people is what we're really talking about. But it's hard. It's hard. Especially you get, like, in many places, you get the person who's the medical director that's like, I'm not going to approve that. Okay, let's figure a way around it. Having said that, sometimes we're sneaky. You can judge however you'd like. I won't give too much information, but sometimes we're sneaky. Oh my God, he got out. Isn't that funny time? Where are you going? Oh my goodness. Come back. So I can say I tried to stop him.
Why didn't you just make arrangements to bring in one?
Oh yeah, that would be good. Sure. Try it.
Legal. Deal.
Oh, here on the stage. In Israel, it's part of their rehab. That sexual surrogates in rehab.
Right.
Move to Israel, that's what I would say. But again, so the people we help, they appear to be in control, they resist our help, we do everything we can to try, they accept their disabilities, we don't want to expect that they're going to accept them, they accept help when it's offered in a collaborative and positive way, not on here, it's how we do this kind of stuff, are often chronically cranky. That's actually, I shouldn't say last year we published an article that in the title, it was Positive Supports for the Chronically Cranky. And the journal and all the reviewers said they would not publish it because of the title. And I was like, why? That describes who people are. They're chronically cranky. Chronic in the sense that it's common and it happens a lot. Cranky in the sense that it can be changed. We've all been cranky in our lives. The idea, and it goes back to your question, which is, let's not pathologize this. What happens is we think she's paranoid. That's a pathology. And once we start pathologizing, then we start behaving in a way that we treat behavior as pathological. And many behaviors are just sort of an amplification of what is normal and what is typical. And if you've never really experienced it and you've never had the opportunity to do that stuff, what do? You behave in pathological ways because the world around you pathologizes you. So what are we doing in such a way that what we're doing is that they're going to struggle. We know they're going to struggle. But it's understandable if they struggle. But cranky is temporary. The idea here is, anybody familiar with Teasdale and Barnard's and interacting cognitive subsystems? I have to, every once in a while, show trying to be erudite. They had this associated with, they use this model associated with depression, but it fits with the population of people that we work with. So they have a proud behavior, and there's two loops that operate in the subconscious substrates, as they say, of the behavior world. in the world of neurology and neuropsychology, it would probably be more in the realm of implicit knowledge structures. So one is problem behavior, you get negative feedback in the environment that affects you. You have these sort of somatic effects, you feel crappy. They create somatic markers. Anybody familiar with Antonio Damasio and somatic markers? That's how we manage. So they have these markers in our head that bring memories back. And then we create these models in our head. And the model is, no matter what, I'm going to have these problems, I'm going to have these effects, and it has this loop. It is subconscious. It is implicit knowledge structure. Simultaneously, you get the direct, which is negative feedback in the environment, you get this learned kind of stuff, which is specific meetings. That happens. Every time I talk to this person, this happens, which then creates these recycling. I have this bad feeling. It's because I get feedback in the environment, and every time I interact with somebody, I feel bad about myself. It's called interacting cognitive subsystems. It's been around for the last 15 years or so, but it applies to the population of people we work with. Whether it's memory, whether it's behavior, the problem is I get both gut and I get here as well. So I get intellectual and I get gut level understanding. The problem is it's the gut. It's this somatic and schematic model of implicational knowledge structure. Somebody is this place going to blow or what? So what's the point? They become automatic. They become ways of us thinking about our lives and the people who surround us in our lives, and they dominate automatically. So we respond in ways that are not thoughtful. We respond in ways that are automatic, based on these knowledge structures. Does that make sense? Do you see why we're saying we have to shift away from those kind of things? Because what happens is, the point of this is we're learning and we don't even know it. And if most of the learning is about you overcoming a pathology, you overcoming a negative behavior, you're going to keep thinking in that way, and your thoughts are going to be driven in that way, even though you want to not do it. You can't help it. So, the good news is cranky is temporary, though. You don't have to be cranky. It's not a permanent thing. Most people want to change. Nobody, we have this conversation when we work with kids. No kid wants to be bad. No kid wants to be a lousy guy. Nobody chooses that. They're often driven to that based on these knowledges, the way that the world treats them. So cranky is something that you can overcome. We don't talk about disability or diagnosis. We spend a little time about it. We say, you got a brain injury, that's good. Thank you, move on. We work with people who will never accept their disability, and that's fine too. You know, the idea, the tradition is accepting your disability so you can move on. Baloney. Baloney. We all live lives of, illusion. We are delusional. In fact, sometimes our delusion is what keeps us going. I just think it's going to be better if. I can't wait until this happens. It's never going to happen. But it keeps us going. The problem is, once you're identified with a disability, then it's pathological. But it's normal, it's typical. We want to sort of normalize that kind of stuff. We don't spend a lot of time knowing their diagnosis, especially people that are addicts. In the programs that we have, a significant number of people, we have 3 very specific substance abuse programs. We have people who do 12 steps and stuff. We do not. We talk a little bit about their addiction. We talk more about them. You are more than an addict. You are more than a person with a brain injury. You are an individual who struggles with lots of different things. And this is where the acceptance and commitment kind of approach goes in. It doesn't matter if you accept you're an addict or not, you have a brain injury. What we want you to accept is that it's going to be hard. That's it. This is going to be hard, and what we need to do is figure out how we can make it less hard for you. We have interesting diagnosis, and because they're interesting diagnosis, they're going to behave in ways we don't expect. That's fine. It's actually part of the fun of it. We know a little bit about stuff. Well, like I said, we know you had a brain injury, we know the site of your injury, we know those things, but we don't spend much time talking about it. Why bother? What is a big deal? What is it that you want to do? What do you want to work on? That's where we spend our time. So we don't talk about overcoming whatever, we do talk about making change in a way that's meaningful and personal to you. Lastly, we work with people who say terrible things to us. The mistake people make is they take it personally. So this is 1,000 years ago. My wife was pregnant with our oldest daughter, who's going to be 30 in a few days. And there was a woman that we worked with who used to say things like, Tim, is your wife still pregnant? Yes. I hope the baby dies. And what was she looking for? Me going, oh my God, that's terrible. Because once that happens, I'm done. Sometimes they say awful things. So what? In fact, if all you have is making me feel bad in your life, okay, I understand. Well, why wouldn't you? That's all you have. All right, so let's take a break and then we'll go into some other stuff. So we'll take, what is it about?
So, yes, morning afternoon tea's at the back of the room, as per morning tea. If we can reconvene in half an hour.